Joining us now to discuss both aspects of this issue. In studio, we have Dr. Peter Hibberd, an emergency room physician, and out Arizona way, in Tucson to be specific, my old pal who works at 104.1 KQTH-FM, Jon Justice. Thanks to you both. And Jon Justice, let's begin with you. White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest, in an interview with MSNBC's Chuck Todd, said when it comes to immigration, the administration is not going to sit around and wait for Congress to act. Here is the exact quote from the press secretary. Quote, "We've been waiting a year already. The president has tasked his Secretary of Homeland Security, Jay Johnson, with reviewing what options are available to the president, what is at his disposal, using his executive authority to try to address some of the problems that have been created by our broken immigration system." Jon, you've had a chance to see that broken system firsthand. You went down to Nogales. Tell us what you are seeing, and is that broken system the way the White House intimates it is, or you got a little different take on that?
Well, you know, it was really fascinating to go in, and thanks for having me on, JD. It's good to talk to you again. It was fascinating to go down and see it firsthand. It's really hard to get a gauge of the humanitarian aspect of what's going on without seeing the children firsthand. It certainly doesn't change my views. As a matter of fact, it makes me somewhat sympathetic to what's going on, but at the same time, it makes me frustrated that we are not doing more to stop the surge of illegals coming into the country. And the fact that, as you said, the majority of us feel like, and we know, these individuals, once they reach whomever they're trying to get connected with here in the country, these children that are flooding in, that are being housed in these different detention centers, they're not going to be going to these hearings. And even if they do, President Barack Obama back in 2011 changed the policy that gave the courts discretion on who will have to face deportation and who doesn't. It was basically saying, unless you've broken other laws other than coming into the country, more than likely you'll be allowed to stay. And I don't see anything, I don't see the White House, I don't see the federal government doing anything to stop the flow right now. And any executive orders that President Barack Obama might do as it relates to immigration reform, to me, is just going to exacerbate the problem.
Jon, as you were talking, we were taking a look at the pictures you put on your website at 104.1 KQTH in Tucson. So you've handled the public policy aspect of this. Let me turn to Dr. Hibberd for the public health aspect of this. We're getting the report of the first case of swine flu. When you hear this, with your background, what does that portend? You saw some of the pictures from Nogales. We've seen other holding areas, hundreds if not thousands of these younger people coming to the country. What's your take on the public health threat of the swine flu?
My take is that swine flu has been a public health menace for years. And it tends to crop up when people are overcrowded and in together, and it will spread through those populations.
So you have this situation now where a lot of these minors leave the detention centers. We know some have been flown to Massachusetts. There are different centers around the country and quote, relatives with whom they are united. And I'll stay away from the political aspect for you, but in terms of a public health issue, if swine flu is contracted or comes in one of these centers and these people are bringing it across, with them moving out of those centers, they take it across the country again.
Well, it's an influenza virus that we happen to have a vaccine for that works.
Well, and with that vaccine, so this portends again that as Congress has been asked to spend over $2 billion for the care and housing of this latest influx of illegals, they better set aside some money for the swine flu vaccination.
They certainly better.
Wow. So we've got that going, and again, public health is facts and figures based on science. Some say politics or political science is the ultimate oxymoron, but we'll leave that alone for a second here.
But it's not just the swine flu. When you put people together in housing conditions that are close enough for transmission of transmissible diseases, you're looking at more than swine flu. You're looking at hepatitis, you're looking at diphtheria, looking at all these other things that will go through unvaccinated populations, including our own. Remember, we have populations here who, can you hear me?
Yes.
We have populations here who do not believe in vaccination, and these are risk centers in our own country also.
So it sets off real problems for us. I'm interested in another, I hate to use the term malady because it almost short sells it, MRSA. There's talk that this influx of illegals are bringing that as well, at least given the situations in which they're living right now.
I would discount that.
Okay.
I would not sit with that too well. I think MRSA is pretty well established in an antibiotic overpopulated country, and I think we need to take the responsibility there. To say these children are bringing MRSA in from South America, I would debate you.
Okay, well, then we have the point clarified, yet it has been mentioned in connection with this.
Oh, certainly. When you have populations in close, they're using common bathroom facilities, common washing facilities. A couple of them may have an infectious condition, skin condition like MRSA. Yeah, that'll spread through the others who otherwise aren't exposed. Absolutely.
And
so.
Dr. Hibberd, as you mentioned that, we have on the screen the MRSA symptoms. And again, it is fair to say before this influx of illegals, I guess the most celebrated case over in Tampa Bay with the Buccaneers and their training center, certainly not an immigration detention center in Nogales, Arizona. Let me shift back to Arizona now to Jon Justice on this. Jon, there are reports, and this almost sounds like we're making this up. There are reports that former House Speaker and Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi this weekend will visit the border to visit these centers, and I guess ostensibly to welcome in these people who come to our nation illegally. Here's what she said, quote, "The humanitarian crisis unfolding across our nation's southern border demands Congress come together and find thoughtful, compassionate, and bipartisan solutions. We must also work to address the root causes of this problem." Hey, Jon, isn't one of the root causes the fact that we haven't sealed the border?
Right. We're not enforcing the laws, and we haven't been for years. You know, and JD, this has been my fear. Those of us that have been watching this situation for the past couple of weeks, covering immigration here in southern Arizona for 7 years, it looks like on the surface that the preparations are underway for the long haul. We have a facility, actually it's not a facility, it's an apartment complex that was supposed to be used for University of Arizona students. A nonprofit organization called Southwest Key has now taken over this newly refurbished apartment complex with spacious bedrooms, Wi-Fi, and a heated pool. They're going to be housing 280 of these children coming out of this Nogales Border Patrol facility. We're also hearing rumors, and I've heard from different sources, that the kids who do not find placement in the country, who are minors, could end up in our foster care system here in Arizona as well. So you hear this talk of, well, we're going to talk to them in Guatemala, we're going to talk to them in Central America, say you can't come here, you're not going to get amnesty, but at the same time, what we're seeing is preparations of this continuing way down the line, and certainly with Nancy Pelosi and her attempts to visit these facilities, it just seems to be perpetuating that they expect this to continue, and it's going to get worse and cost us billions of dollars.
Jon, only a couple of minutes left. We want to get your take from there in Tucson. Then we're going to turn to Dr. Hibberd here in the studio. Everyone's using the term humanitarian crisis. Jon, from your perspective, is it a humanitarian crisis, or is it just a failure to enforce the law and basically our nation's being played collectively as suckers?
You know, the thing for me, you don't want to see children in this situation. You know, it was difficult to see the kids behind these fences and barbed wire in this facility down in Nogales. I mean, I have a 12-year-old and a 7-year-old. You know, these are young children. Nobody wants to see kids having to be in situations like this. That doesn't change the fact, however, that we have laws that need to be enforced. And we, unfortunately, I feel like these children are being used as political pawns. So you have a humanitarian issue, and it's always difficult when we're talking about children. But at the same time, this is a matter of the United States not enforcing our laws, not securing the border, and allowing this to take place.
And
I
John,
wish that they would keep this from happening.
In addition to that, there is science and public health. Dr. Hibberd, the last word to you in the 50 seconds that remains. Strictly in a public health setting, what do we have to do?
I think we need to straighten up the overcrowding. We have a problem here. We need to fix it. And part of the fix is whatever solution to prevent it, but we have a problem. We can't prevent it. They're there now. We need to take care of these children.
Dr. Peter Hibberd, we thank you. Even as we see some of the additional maladies, diseases being brought into the country, a simple fact of public health. Jon Justice in Tucson, Dr. Hibberd here in studio, we thank you both. And it raises a question for you at home. What is the responsibility of the American nation, both in terms of rule of law and a humanitarian impulse? Tweet us your comments at Newsmax TV, #AmericasForum.